Oh, yeah.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Devoratorium. My name is Darnay DeVore, and I'm going to be your host. On today's episode, One Nation Under God. Now this is going to be a slightly different video, but I want us to ask ourselves that question. Are we one nation under God? How can we be one nation under God if we don't talk about God? If we don't read our Bibles? Okay, if we're trying our best to take the Bible and all mention of God out of our public schools, out of our prisons, out of our hotel rooms, how can we still be one nation under God? Matter of fact, how can we even be one nation? Only God can unify a people, okay, as one nation. You know how I know this? Because under God, we are all His children. We are all created in His image, okay? And as image bearers of God, we are to love God with all our heart, soul, and mind, and to love our neighbors as ourselves. How much more unified can we be than that when we're all worshiping the same God? That's what one nation under God looks like. But unfortunately, a lot of us these days are trying to take God out of the picture completely. So if we're not one nation under God, we're one nation under what? What fills in that void? Ourselves? Unfortunately, with ourselves at the helm, controlling this nation and not utilizing God or His word, we're now more divided than we've ever been before. We're dividing ourselves over our race, our gender, how we look, tall, short, how much money we have, don't have, where we're from. There's all these divisions that are being permeated out there now, and we're just following them like, okay, you're in that group, well, I'll be in this group, and your group upset my group, and my group offended your group, and your group offended my group, and everyone's mad at each other. Everyone's offended at each other. You know why? Because no one is talking about God anymore. No one is putting the Bible in the center of their conversations anymore. There can't be any unity without God. Try as we might, all we're going to do is continue to find reasons for division. And yes, this is seeping into the church as well. What does God have to say about this? Let's take a look in Isaiah 34, verse 1 through 2. It reads, "Come near, you nations, and listen. Pay attention, you peoples. Let the earth hear and all that is in it, the world and all that comes out of it. The Lord is angry with all nations. His wrath is on all their armies. He will totally destroy them. He will give them over to slaughter." Are these nations that God is talking about? Are these all nations under God? No. These are nations that don't have God. Every single nation that God is angry with is a nation that does not have God as their source of authority. So what does a nation look like without God? A nation without God looks like a nation that is bound to survival of the fittest. Okay? Sounds familiar, doesn't it? It's my group versus your group. Whatever group you belong to versus whatever group I belong to, and whoever survives is the most fit to survive. And let's say that's my group. My group is more fit to survive than your group, so my group comes out on top. Until another group comes up and topples my group, and now they're on top. It just becomes dog eat dog, and we don't even regard each other as image bearers of God anymore. Now it's just, how can I get over on you, and how you can get over on me. Folks, you don't realize that all we're doing is playing Satan's game. This is Satan's game. God created the world, and He created everybody in the world through one man, and that was Adam. Okay? So we're all made in the image of God through Adam. And yet, instead of acting like we're made in God's image, we're acting like animals. We're dividing ourselves into our cliques, our different social groups, and then fighting other social groups for dominance or for superiority in one way or another. We can't do this. We cannot do this without invoking God's wrath against us. All right? One nation under God or one nation under men. I choose one nation under God. So what does that look like? let's take a look at Psalm 33, 12 through 15. It reads, "Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, the people he chose for his inheritance. From heaven the Lord looks down and sees all mankind. From his dwelling place he watches all who live on earth. He who forms the hearts of all, who considers everything they do." God is everywhere, folks. God sees everybody and everything. But the nation whose God is the Lord, they are blessed. They are blessed, a blessed nation. So how can we once again be one nation under God? Let me think here. There's no way we can be one nation under God when we elect leaders who are not fearing God, who do not worship God. It's that simple. When we are one nation under God, but we elect leaders who are atheists or leaders who don't really have any regard for God. They've heard of his name once or twice, but they have no regard for God in their lives, in their own lives. Then where will our country lead? They're leading our country down the wrong direction. I know, in the Constitution, there is a no religious test clause. And I get that. I even understand why it's there. But what I don't understand is how we can open up the election to anyone and everyone and expect to still stay one nation under God. We need God-fearing men, God-fearing women to be our leaders, to keep our nation one nation under God, not one divided nation being ruled by men and our cliques, our societies, our different levels of social groups. All right, that's all we have now. Now, I'm not suggesting a theocracy like Israel was supposed to be. I'm not suggesting that we can't be a theocracy, as a matter of fact, because there are no prophets directly connecting us with God. So that's not going to work. But I do suggest that we need to become more theonomous, okay? Governed by God in our own hearts. All right, our leaders need to reflect that too. We need to elect leaders who are Bible reading, God-fearing Christians, people who will not cross that line as far as God's standards go. Now, it does not mean that we're going to have a nation where everyone is going to be forced to go to church. No. If you want to be an atheist, knock yourself out. That is your free will choice. And even God allows you the free will choice to not believe in him. But what we would not do as a one nation under God is enshrine any laws or any rules that lean more towards atheism or any other ism other than God. Okay? All the rules and laws of the land will be clear under God. That's how we stay one nation under God. We take out God. Now we have not really even one nation anymore under man. We have multiple nations now under man, because all of us like to get into our cliques and form nations of our own. Well, this is what my group believes, so I'm going to stay over here in my group. Well, this is what my group believes, so I'm going to stay in this group over here. No, that's not how we're going to be one nation, and that's not one nation under God. I want America to be a blessed nation, so we have to get back to God. How do we do that? Let's start talking about this in our churches. Let's start getting our churches back to the gospel rather than our feelings. Let's start getting the churches back to God's justice rather than social justice. Let's focus on rebuilding our churches back to what they were supposed to be in the beginning, and then figuring out a way to get our churches to expand out into our communities, out into our neighborhoods, so we can continue showing people this is what God wants. God is trying to show all of us who he is, but we keep covering our eyes because we want to do things our way. Well, our way does not lead to one nation under God. And that's going to be the fall of our country. I want everyone to think on these things. Thank you once again for joining me today. Stay tuned for the next video.